I know that you've all been prepared for this, but I thought I'd just remind you just the same.
Can you handle that, Blondie?
Game over, man. Game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
It was pure evil.
I want to buy some radio ad time.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
And I'm your host, Noel John Toohey.
We got Carmack in the back, and this is Invasion of the Potty Snatchers. Let's get to it, motherfuckers.
Oh dear.
I'm always waiting for you to sneak something in.
I do, and I like to just I like to do it in the offbeat so that it's awkward.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, and like I try my best not to imitate you, or like, you know what I mean, like add on to it. Like it's a bitch. It's, but something you touched on there is like, oh dear, and the reason you mentioned that was because we came back one more time before we ended the year. This is the last Potty Snatchers of the year. And we came back with Antlers, the Scott Cooper directed, long-awaited horror monster fest. Yeah, because it was supposed to come out, I think, early last year, pandemic, lockdown, all that jazz, and we had to wait till the fucking autumn of this year, early winter. So I don't know if that's going to benefit it in the long run, because usually with the more anticipation increases, oftentimes the expectations also increase along with it.
The Witch.
Yeah, which that was a bit of a non-event in my family.
And I was looking, and I got into it. I got a little bit OCD about that movie, and I was checking like every day to see if there was anywhere I could watch it, you know. And I mean every day for a while. Yeah. And then when it did come out, and again, it's not the film's fault. The film was always just going to be, this is the film and this is how good it is. But again, weight of expectations crushed it.
Yeah, and it's because the thing is, like, the longer you wait for something, the more you build it up in your head, and it's unavoidable.
It's unavoidable, yeah.
Yeah, and like, what did you feel? Were you eagerly anticipating the release of Antlers?
Actually, again, we're talking about the Antlers, not the Witch. So this is the last thing I'll say on it, is that the Witch taught me that. Just take a step back. Yeah, it comes out when it comes out. So Antlers, yes, I felt like my horror boner was definitely teased by. But when I actually got to it, I was able to just like, I didn't know everything about it. I didn't know much about it. I knew what the trailer told you, which isn't a terrible lot of anything. I didn't know it was going to be so folklore based and stuff like that. So no, I was okay. I went into it with a pretty even keel, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I wasn't blown away. It was a well above average film. Above average film. There's a lot of things in it that I loved, and maybe pacing issues or something. I guess we're going to do a bit of a dive. But no, what about you? Did you?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. My anticipation for it was insane. Like anytime I see a fresh take on a creature feature, I didn't even know it was a Wendigo story. Like, you know, I didn't know until I was watching the movie when the Native American
they just said it like about over halfway mark. They actually said the word, and I was like, even seeing the monster, I still didn't, because you know, I picture a abominable kind of monster. Yeah,
yetish. Yeah, no, I'm the same. Like any supernatural fan out there knows the word Wendigo. It comes from Native American folklore. It's supposed to be this amazingly hard creature to kill. It lives in the woods. It feeds off people. I think it can turn other people into Wendigos, somewhat similar to a werewolf by biting them, or through blood transfusion and through a wound or whatever, or saliva. And like in Supernatural, one of my favorite episodes actually focuses on the Wendigo in season 1. I think it is one of the earlier episodes, and it's cool to see different folklores, like these creature features, like werewolves we've seen a lot, you know what I mean? I'm someone that loves werewolves, you know what I mean? You'll all find out some way. But but like I love werewolves, I love vampires as much as anyone.
Plugs, shameless self-plugging. Werewolves, vampires.
Vampires not that. But you know, it's cool to see different elements of different folklores coming into this creature feature kind of realm.
More. You know? I actually feel like there isn't enough horror has been with a number of exceptions, but it's been a little bit more grounded of late. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying I personally enjoy a good supernatural horror. Yeah, I enjoy that unseen force, the devil. I don't care. I just enjoy that in a horror film. I enjoy the tense and suspense that comes from supernatural. And so when I was watching this, and I realised it's full blown supernatural, which you find out earlier on because of the father who's in the meth lab down the mine.
I had no idea. I thought they were miners. for most.
I thought
of the
they were
movie.
minors too. I honestly did. And
Lorraine was like, I think they're meth dealers. And I'm like, what? She was like, I'm pretty sure that was a meth lab.
And Sheila said to me, she goes, I think he's after giving him like a bar of coke or something,
Yeah.
of unrefined coke, and it's meth, like. So, but like, I was just like, no, what he is a man who loves his child.
It's soap. He's big into hygiene.
He's big into hygiene, and he doesn't want his kid back there because chemicals and stuff like that.
Yeah, because he just wants his soot on his fresh little skin.
Exactly. Yeah.
How creepy was that?
But I thought it was a great opening. I tell you one thing that, because I'm only going to say it now because I think I might forget later. I love the fact that some of our main protagonists are based around a brother and sister dynamic.
Yeah.
Instead of a husband-wife dynamic, because I fucking hate romance in films.
Yeah.
It so rarely adds anything to it.
Especially horror.
And I like the brother-sister dynamic.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and just straight away I felt like I was off the hook for one of my own personal dislikes in movie. I'm on the hook for Supernatural, you got me.
Yeah.
And I'm off the hook for romance. Oh yeah, that's 2 for 2 right there.
I don't think Scott Cooper and the casting agents of this movie understand how genes work. Because they don't look like they're related at all.
No. You know what I mean?
Like, not even a little, like.
No. I mean, you
barely look like the same species. Yeah, I said it. Hashtag Met Damon.
Just imagine just Kat Dennings and Wesley Snipes, Hey,
bro. Kat Dennings would nearly pull it off, though.
Yeah, she probably.
Her boundless enthusiasm for things is just infectious.
But and I like, they had their own trauma, which juxtaposed against, obviously the kid is going through something permanently, aggressively, presently traumatic, but I don't think they bogged it down too much. Maybe they could have dialed it down a little, but their own trauma was used to just as why she gets obsessed with the kids. I don't think it bogged itself down in her story. I think it was very much so about who's our main little kid. It's Lucas, and I thought he was excellently casted. Did you think the kid had that air about him for such a young actor? He looked traumatized. He carried himself extremely well, I thought.
Did you see? I sent you a message.
You sent me a message, did you?
Yeah. No, he did. He played the role really well. He just looked so. Yeah. If you want to know what we're laughing at, we usually record this on Zoom as well as Audacity, but we forgot to this time.
We forgot to press a button.
It's all good. This is why we record externally.
This is why we record externally. Yeah.
The little kid that played Lucas, he was really, really good. I love. It kind of harkened back to the old possession stories. Where like a kid that's possessed that loves drawing, and a parent comes across these really dark, menacing drawings because this is what the kid is going through mentally, and they're portraying that in their artwork. And like it kind of harkened back to that, what we see in a lot of those old possession or old haunting stories.
It's always you're right. It's always a kid's drawings, and it's just like, oh, here's mommy and here's daddy, and then there's this big black shadow entity in the back or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. It scares the shit out of you. Like it's just and I loved the story he told in class about Baby Bear, Big Bear, and Little Bear. Yep. Like that was fucking amazing.
But I love the fact that he told it with his pictures.
Yeah.
You could see over his shoulder, and you could see that he was just turning the pages, and it was just like 4 pictures, and he told 3 pictures, whatever, and he just told the entire story through. And the teacher, from her perspective, wouldn't have known that. And I just thought that's the thing. Like this is a 35-pound child. This is a tiny little man. Like, and he just so comfortable, and he just
you body shaming that kid, man.
But he was so browbeaten, you know what I mean? Like he was just such. I don't know, when you see somebody that's like young and small, and you think that God, he's got so much gravitas to him. You almost think like a striking actor,
He looked to me like a 19th century industrial worker.
Yes,
completely malnourished, always dirty, nearly like soot stained. You know, that kind of thing. Like that's what he looked to me like.
Sharp features.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like memorable kind of features, and but I thought, you know what I mean, like again, just a kid who he's way ahead of his years as an actor.
Yeah.
He really was. He was so comfortable. Like sometimes just there's something going on and a kid takes you out of it because you can tell that they obviously need a little bit more, and that's because they're a literal child. Like
they're just
they need a
learning on the
little bit more.
job.
They're learning on the job and they need a little bit more direction and stuff. But with this, I didn't find it at all. I found he was able to carry scenes completely on his own, stuff like.
Yeah.
And I mean completely on his own because there's scenes where he's at home and he's feeding these father/kid brother, and a little bit with the brother he talks, but he doesn't talk to the father. Essentially the scene is all carried visually, so you need to express completely and totally with the character itself and your scenario,
where he's finding like roadkill, for lack of a better term, and bringing them back home for food
and putting on a headlamp and
Yeah.
going upstairs, and he's slow and he's staggering his steps because he's obviously scared, but he has to do it. He doesn't have a choice. I bought all of that, and I just think that's such a strong. There's actors who get paid way too much money who have long IMDb lists who are not as good as this 12-year-old, 11-year-old child. Simple as that, like.
I love the way like they hint at it at the start in the meth lab, and then it kind of jumps into the story, and we don't see the transition from the father coming from the meth lab to coming home with the sickness, and then they tell it in the little story he reads to the class, because that gives you, in that little short moment, they give you the entire backstory for what occurred, and they kind of portrayed clearly enough why it's hinting at it, that it's like wrapped up in a little kid's story, the big bear, the little bear, daddy bear, all that kind of stuff, where because that little moment helps you figure out what occurred after the mine, in between the mine and the kind of cut to, and when we see him going to school and shit at the start, that kind of way. But,
this is something we've talked about before, something that should be, we've said, this might have worked as a TV series, or this could have just been a film because they had to drag it out to make it a TV series. I think this one is actually somehow both, where they use pacing very, very well in these instances, where again the kid's story, like you said, or even just a short introduction of what's going on inside the house, it has so much dramatic value that it kind of, like, you can move on. You don't feel like they've spent too long or too little on the story. Looking about it now, I feel like I need to fault this film somewhere, but I find that hard to actually say where. There was just something that felt lacking in this film. Can you fill out that blank for me?
I think for me, like, if you have something so rich in terms of Native American lore and you're going to try and take advantage of that, maybe have a bit more of the creature earlier on in the movie.
Yeah.
Even though
it's good, like, always at the start, there's always that, like, it's the soldiers in Aliens, and it's, the headlights turning, and then just a face, and there's viscera, and that works, but you didn't see a lot of it. That would have been cool. But there was something else. There was something that was, I don't know. There was something, like, one little aspect of the story that they should have told you, who's done a lot of deep dives into lore.
Yeah,
probably know better than I.
No, I just think that, like, if you're going to focus on Native American lore and the Wendigo in particular, that maybe you need to flesh out the actual lore of the Wendigo a bit more, because it felt like they spoke a little bit about it, but they kind of moved past it. Because there was so much character development you need to do with little Lucas, and you had to really develop his relationship with Curry Russell's character. You had to develop Curry Russell's relationship with Jesse Plemons' character. Lucas, his relationship with his mutating father and his little brother. So
Julia being the teacher, Paul being the sheriff, Lucas, and
so I just think that, like, I'm all for character development. But when you're making a creature feature, there's two things that are extremely important, and that's the establishment of the lore, because that creates the rules and how you're supposed to kill it, and then the creature itself. And then I think the main thing that I lacked a little bit on both of them was establishing the lore. Doing a little bit of a deep dive into that, because sometimes that's the most fun part of these movies, when people are trying to figure out how to kill the creature, because they have to go into
like the illustrated books that they take out. I know they kind of did
going through news reports in the library. Do you know those?
Warren Stokes, who was a Native American retired sheriff.
Yeah,
who was consulting on the case.
He was the information character.
So sometimes, like, we talk about this where people are looking for explanations, but sometimes you wake up in a post-apocalyptic world, the internet's gone, the phones are down. It's that the story should be told from your perspective of somebody who couldn't possibly know what's going on. But if you are going to do explanations, then do it.
Yeah.
Don't do one or the other, and I'm fine with both, to be honest with you. But maybe don't sit in the middle so much.
Yeah, maybe they could have. I've only seen this once, so did they really do a deep dive into, like, people missing? Like there should have been this constant thing of people missing, this constant like.
Again, just one view 2 nights ago.
Yeah,
but no,
you need to really lean on the fact that this is a reoccurring thing, that this has been happening for a long time, and then you do your deep dive into the. So you do what you do is you do a real world explanation where it's missing people constantly going. So you have a cop, Jesse Plemons' character, looking for missing people, and at the same time you have another character, Curry Russell, developing the fucking lore. So she should be deep diving into the lore while he's deep diving into all these missing people cases. And then the two of them are supposed to converge later on where the real world meets fantasy. And then you have the introduction of them meeting interactions with them with the creature. And I think that's maybe where it lacked a little bit, that they should have conveyed the presence of the Wendigo being something that's been happening for a long time, and people go missing around these parts, that kind of thing. Like, you know,
It do an excellent job of that. If you look at it, because that was another
missing posters constantly being covered over.
Missing posters over missing posters. That was such a powerful. Yeah, and then there was you know, the kid who said, like, you know, who had just moved into town, so the town's effect hadn't got into him. He was saying, no, it's like 3 times the national average for murders, and even at 6 times or 5 times for kids.
Ben, that was Ben.
Ben, that's right. And they, I don't know, they really, they showed pictures through the ages of, like, you know, whatever, such a plate building that went up in 1910 and then in 1940, whatever. So yeah, no, I do, and it doesn't take an awful lot of time. And there was like. I don't want to go after the pacing of this film too much, because I actually thought the pacing was quite good for the most part. So I guess I would just say that there was moments, lulls, that they could have filled without losing anything. Yeah, where they could have fleshed out that. I think
visit to a library, so go into a hall of records.
You know, like we
go into an archives. There's a bit of an investigation going on, because Jesse Plemons' character in it was like, people are missing or something. I guess
he was very much so hot. Just. I know he's trying to play a slightly
disaffected.
Paul Meadows was his character, Sheriff Meadows.
To me, I think he's the closest thing we have to Philip Seymour Hoffman right now. In the way
you know what I mean, because he's not like that classically handsome. He's a guy that looks like he could actually be the thing that he's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like
the everyday man look.
The everyday man kind of look. And even like he was a sheriff, and I thought he did a really good job, because a lot of people like, I'm the sheriff, but he was very much so like a guy who is now, because of apathetical, and because he's like, I guess, got seniority, is now the sheriff. It wasn't this like guns a-blazing kind of thing. He was very much so like, okay, what do we do next? He goes, go back to the station. We'll do this. We'll do this. You know, he was very he was reactive and not proactive, and I like that about him, because that's.
And he mentioned it earlier on. It's like, do you like this job because nobody else wanted it or something? Nobody else
wanted it. And someone had to do it. Yeah. And it was only one other guy that seemed even more apathetic than him.
Yeah, you know. So I just think it was a case of like. So to me that seems like it felt like maybe people have been going missing. I don't know. I think I would have liked to see a bit more of a deep dive on the investigatory side of it and into the lore, because you have a cop investigating something that's lore filled. Then the investigation should intertwine with something that's like even if he was
reasonably skeptical, and he was reasonably skeptical. Like,
but she was into it, so have her look into news reports and people. You know what I mean? Survivors. I saw this creature. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
especially like a hunter who was like, you know, somebody looking down the long lens, who's like far enough out of sight, out of mind to have like witnessed it. And you don't have to believe him, but you can.
And it goes to the case where she keeps investigating, and then onto the point where she literally leads her to that guy. What's his name? The Stokes guy.
Sheriff Stokes.
Sheriff
Stokes. Warren Stokes, retired Sheriff Stokes. Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, if you have her doing this where she's constantly looking, so she keeps investigating, while your man's looking through all these missing people, trying to link it to the current missing people, and then like she literally goes to Mr. Stokes eventually saying, "Are these reports true?" You know what I mean? And you can even have the two of them coming together and both of them approaching Sheriff Stokes. And then that's where you can have the two investigations. And he could still remain skeptical. It's like, I don't believe in ghost stories or monster stories. Like, you know, people have been going missing here forever. And she's probably like, yeah, but I think they're going missing for the same reason or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just think for a movie like this that was so, like, had a cop investigating or so central to its narrative, and you have a person that seemed to be a lot more open-minded to the lore, that I don't think it focused heavily enough on the aspects of what I really could have done. It could have been really should like. I'm always saying this though, but I'd like to see a lot of these horrors be more procedural in how they approach the supernatural aspects and the missing things. I think the best thing that does this is Supernatural. It's pretty much a procedural cop show, but they do deal with demons and angels and monsters.
Yeah.
And I think Supernatural do that the best, where they keep that procedural element as if they're two detectives trying to solve a crime. Just the perpetrator happens to be a monster. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the rules of engagement kind of remain the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about
whatever, that there's murders going on,
clues.
somebody needs to be stopped or somebody needs to be saved. Both. Yeah.
Exactly,
But
yeah. And it's all about finding clues, except the clues are ways of killing monsters instead of catching criminals.
Where I will fight the man who said who goes after the practical effects. Whoever was involved in the practical effects for this film, I'll fight the man. Amazing. I'll go one step further. I'll go on the record and say God tier. I thought
incredible. The design was beautiful.
They were where the father finally. I don't know if it's a case of where you feed on so much meat that you reach a critical mass, or that it just happens in time because the mutation is just headed
maturation.
One way. Okay, maturation of it. Yeah, it's something like that, because it's inevitable anyway, I suppose, whether it's one thing or the other, or both.
Yeah.
But he just busts out of his own husk. His body becomes a husk, and he kind of but when they came in and seen that, or the body of the other guy that was in the meth lab with Weaver at the start, Lucas's dad, where he shows up, I just thought they were incredible. Some of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, the creature design was incredible, and then, as you said,
Absolutely
the cadavers look so real.
They just look so real. Even just the milkiness of the eyes and the face and the expression and the open chest and the smoothness of the inner cavity of the ribs. And you're just like, as a guy, as somebody who's kind of like grown up and you've watched an awful lot of horror and gore, it's I've seen everything from goofy to really well done, and this is absolutely amongst the best I've ever seen. Like, if this is a staple that we could have somehow hit, if we've just got good enough with ballistics and silicon and what have you, that this can be going forward, I'm very excited.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
It shows you still what the strength that practical effects has in over CGI.
Yeah.
It really does pop off the screen because it's there, and it's like,
oh, they're in the room with it. That's the thing, that we're still so far away from
tangible.
100. It's tangible. We're still so far away of having like a doctor go, look at this, taking a pen or a scalpel or whatever, getting into it and just like cutting away or whatever, and being able to say, this is something that I'm in the room with. It just isn't actually real flesh and human. It's not. And that's, but for all effective purposes inside of the story narrative, it is. And that's fantastic. I get goosebumps when I see it doing well, because I think we've moved too far away from it. So I give it practical effects. So it gets 100% for me when I see it. I think I just need to applaud it.
Yeah, no, I really did know a sang of the fucking classics of the 80s and early 90s, and I really like, and I thought that, as you said, the cadavers and shit looked awesome, but for me, being a pure fucking creature hound, I'm a pure monster buff.
You are.
You are.
Even of the two of us, and it pains me to admit it, but I would have to tip my cap.
It's one of my most favourite things in the world is creature features, and to see a new design that's so awe-striking as the Wendigo design in this movie, when his father fully, as you said, drops his skin like a husk, and he gets the antlers, and he kind of goes full Wendigo, and he has that like fiery heart in his chest.
Yeah.
Like, that imagery is incredible, and the way what they did was beautiful. They darkened a lot of the backgrounds, so that heart really fucking popped off the screen.
Yes.
When it was on him, like the fiery parts of his body.
Yes.
Just fucking awesome. It was so well done.
Beautifully
so well
done. Yeah. And then when they finally defeat the defeat might even be the right word, because it's all very tragic and less of a Neo versus Anderson kind of the narrative. It wasn't. It's all tragic. But when they kill the father, I'm going to say, and then the younger brother Aiden, I think, starts to show the actual latter stages of the human side of the transformation.
Is that why the father kept him? Sorry for cutting across you. Is that why the father kept him?
Yeah, it kind of, exactly. Straight away when I seen the father wouldn't let go of him and brought him with him and wasn't hurting him and stuff, it reminded me of Alien 3, Ripley.
Yeah.
You know, where the alien comes in, but like his actual instincts, his survival instincts, his whole code is just like, pregnant or intubated or whatever the word, and he moves away. So it was exactly that thing where it's like the procreation of its own species. It was so far from human at that stage that it was literally just a Wendigo, and the son was a Wendigo in waiting, and that's how they procreate or whatever. But when the son, the little kid who's only 7, I think he's supposed to be, when he starts getting the glowing heart thing, and he's just a tiny little lad, like, I was like, and the film it never lost me so much that when it introduced really, really harsh gravitas, I actually felt it. Like, I thought it was, I thought it was well done. The actors were so good. The actors were so good, and the story was told well enough that I despite the fact that he said, and I think you're right, that's what I think was missing, the X factor that I couldn't put my finger on, was kind of fleshing out the lore. But I felt for every character in it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It plays on your emotions quite well. Like it's almost a character piece that just happens to have a Wendigo in it.
Exactly.
You know, that kind of way. Like, it's a deep dive almost into poverty, parental neglect, the methamphetamine epidemic in America, drug addiction, all of these things. And it just happened to be the father turned into a Wendigo. You know, that kind of thing. Like, and just like it shows you that pretty much, if you give into these things, how monstrous you can become. And it's just kind of like that kind of in the most literal sense, that like this father that was given into like drugs and neglect to his children, and he had a meth lab and all this shit, that literally like the worst parts of the worst demons that you could kind of suffer upon came out and sought him and found him, you know, that kind of way, in a kind of very physical sense.
An overly literal sense of like, you demons, and, you know, again, that's what sometimes storytelling kind of is. It's the expressions we use. Devil on your shoulder, and there's probably like a literal devil sitting on your shoulder, you know. It is brought to a kind of extreme kind of literalness.
That devil's called cocaine, by the way, people. Just so you know.
It's a good thing we don't have any of those drugs here on the utopia we call Ireland.
Fucking Ireland.
But all in all, like, if you were to put it into a 3-star rating system called the MDK rating system, just came up with it, does it get an M and a D but not the K?
3 stars is very low though. I prefer
3 stars is very low.
Yeah,
but you can go 6 stars because you can have like I give it an M and a half D. Do you give it the full D?
Always, but like, not at first. You have to kind of ease it in there.
I was actually just about to give it a K, but then I pulled out the D. There are many flaws in my rating system. I'm backing away from it instantly.
Before I went full D again.
I just want to go,
but
if you had to score, like, if you had to do a Roger Ebert, did I get the name right? Have I fucked up that guy's name?
Ebert. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. If I had to, like, I mean, it would get 2 thumbs up from me. Yeah. If I had to go, but like, I mean, honestly,
your rating system's all over the place.
It really is. Yeah.
It's 2 thumbs and an M.
2 thumbs. I have to put it in stars, but I mean, you know, it'd be a tomato, but it would have a slightly grey bit on the back.
It's slightly fresh. It's like one of them pink tomatoes, you know, those kind of ones. Not cherry tomato, you know.
Not cherry tomato. Yeah.
So all in all, I give it half DMK stars of a tomato.
It's a cherry tomato with a slightly thick skin. It's fine.
Depends how cold it is.
How cold it is. But I nitpick it, even though I felt that the film catered to a lot of the things that I love in horror, and then maybe that's because I nitpick it. Yeah, because it actually gets to be in a conversation with some of the really, really cool horrors. Like, the best kind of supernatural horror film I've seen in the last few years is Hereditary, and this was a really good film, but it was no Hereditary.
Yeah.
So,
I preferred it to Hereditary.
Really?
Yeah, Hereditary is a bit of a slog, isn't it?
Hereditary, oh man, I just thought the culmination of the story just gave me chills. I prefer
Midsummer to Hereditary.
Really? Yeah, Midsummer was another good one.
I love Florence Pugh, though. I love Florence Pugh.
Like in every sense of the word.
Yeah, oh man, have you seen Hawkeye recently when she played Elena? Oh my god.
I am 4 episodes in.
Yeah, the 5th episode. Oh my god, that woman's beautiful. Like, but she's such a good
wait,
actress.
is the rooftop fight the 5th or the 4th?
The 4th.
I haven't seen.
It comes out every Wednesday. The finale is on next Wednesday. But to get back to Antlers, I think it did everything it tried to do pretty well. It did really good suspense. It really portrayed its the character development well. Unfortunately, the screen time for the creature lacked a little bit because of it, but I don't mind that all in all, because some of the best creature features, they hold back the creature for a long time so you can get that big reveal. I love the creature design.
Films have gone the other way. Films have gone the other way. And
show it in the first scene.
Yeah, and it takes away as well. So
18 predators,
18 predators.
Yeah, lads,
God.
Calm down. They don't need many. That's why they're so good. But like, I just think when you looking at all its ingredients, someone lays out its ingredients in front of me. Its creature design was beautifully original, gorgeously grotesque is something I like to say about creature features. I like the lore, even though they didn't get into it deeply enough for me. Jesse Plemons is a world-class actor. I love Kerry Russell. She's a great actress. The little dude that played Lucas, I don't know his name now, can you check IMDb, but he was absolutely fucking brilliant in it.
Jeremy T. Thomas.
Yeah, Jeremy T. Thomas. He was awesome and he stole every scene he was in.
He did, didn't he? Such a young man.
So all its ingredients, its central protagonist was good. Its secondary characters were brilliantly done by really top level actors. Jesse Plemons, Kerry Russell. The creature was fucking incredible looking. It was very suspenseful, very gory. So for me, it pretty much had all the ingredients that I love about horror, except for the lore. So if you want to rate it, I'd give like a 7 out of 10 or something, that kind of thing. I think it's above average for sure, and especially with the creature design, it's incredibly above average. Like, because
I give it an 8. I think if I shave 2, 8. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is definitely in that range though.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's definitely
100%.
It's a very good creature feature, but at the same time, it's almost more about, it's more of a character story about neglect
100%.
and poverty and the things that pretty much these kind of unspoken heroes, and it's even about abuse. Is something you never even touched on. Kerry Russell's father abused her clearly.
Sorry, because that's how the relationship between her
and Lucas, because he thinks he's been abused at home. Like,
I've been abused at home, and that's a simple story of abuse. But
so it kind of shows these things that some teachers really stick out their necks to help kids that are really disaffected. So
that's why we paid them so much, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And there was some brutal deaths, and we'll not give him credit. There was some
that's what I'm saying,
deaths,
So it was equal parts character story and equal parts horror. And even though I don't like a civics lesson in my horror, it never became distracted from the actual story itself.
No.
So
it was
that's
storytelling.
It incorporated into it. So for me, Antlers, was it worth the wait? Maybe not. Because I was expecting to be blown away by this, and
that's not anyone in the film's fault.
Yeah,
that's the thing about weights, man.
Exactly. That's
the thing about weights.
Increased anticipation.
Increased anticipation. It can crush a film,
Yeah, but all in all, I think it's a wonderful film, beautiful creature feature, and I'm definitely going to be watching it again within the next week or two. I'd say.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch it again as well. Okay. So that was Antlers, peeps. Peeps. I tried it. I can't pull it off.
This is the last Invasion of the Polysnatch for the year, Noel.
Shit, yeah, it is, isn't it?
It's been crazy.
Yeah, it actually has been a pretty crazy year.
Yeah,
and I just feel like it's a moment where I pick up an acoustic guitar. But before we all go, kids, ding, 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 ding. I just want to sing you all the song.
So before we get the fuck out of here, I don't know when this is going to air, but I'll say happy Christmas or happy holidays, whatever, to everybody. But I don't know when this is going to air, so if it comes out after the holidays, fuck all y'all.
yeah, absolutely. If you're listening from America, we hope you guys still exist by the time this airs.
But this was Invasion of Polysnatchers. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Noel John Tui.
We got Carmack in the back. That was Antlers. Check it out, folks. It's pretty fucking cool. See you next time, motherfuckers. Happy holidays and maybe a happy new year. I have no idea when this airs.
Peace.